morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very good morning to all. Very good morning to all. This is Moin here from Freya. Yes.
So, Senior VP, with your permission and the co-chair's permission, Dr. Popley's permission, shall we start?
Please
Yes,
do,
please.
please do. And my apologies,
sure.
there were some link issues here. I think Dr. Popley wants to say something.
No, it's fine, guys.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine.
So, we are joined by Professor Ramesh Goyal, Vice Chancellor, Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research University. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. We are also joined by Dr. Rubina Bose, Deputy Drugs Controller, CDSCO, all the way from Bombay. Thank you very much for joining us. I think the pressure in Bombay must be much higher because of the cases going up there, not only for Mumbai, but also for the entire Maharashtra. So, but thank you for joining us despite your busy schedule and the overburden because of the high number of cases in Maharashtra. I'd like to welcome all of you to this webinar on scope of WHO-GMP certification in the pharmaceutical industry and government support. Today's webinar is supported by the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Department of Pharma, and is essentially to focus on how the WHO-GMP certification in the pharmaceutical industry can be reinforced, not only across the industry, but with some special focus on the MSMEs. With due apologies for a late start, I would like to quickly request, without wasting any time, our Senior Vice President, Shri Pradeep Multani ji, to kindly give his presidential and welcome remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sehgal. On behalf of the PhD CCI, I welcome all the participants to the webinar on scope of WHO GMP certification in pharmaceutical industry and government support. I would also like to welcome our guests of honor, Dr. Rubina Bose, Deputy Drugs Controller, CDSCO, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and Professor Ramesh Goyal, Vice Chancellor, Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research University. Welcome also to our panelists, Mr. Mukesh Sinha, Dr. D.P. Ghosh, Dr. Ghulam Mohyuddin, and Dr. Harvinder Popley, co-chair of our Health Committee, and today's session moderator, Mr. Vivek Sehgal, Assistant Secretary General, PhD. Ladies and gentlemen, PhD CCI has been working as a catalyst for the promotion of Indian industry, trade, and entrepreneurship for the past 116 years. It is a forward-looking, proactive, and dynamic pan-India apex organization. As a partner in progress with industry and government, PhD Chamber, with a special focus on MSMEs, works at the grassroots level with strong national and international linkages for propelling progress, harmony, and integrated development of the Indian economy. The Good Manufacturing Practice, GMP, is a system and a part of quality assurance program to ensure that the pharmaceutical products are consistently produced and controlled according to quality standards. These guidelines help manufacturers implement an effective manufacturing process and ensure that quality is built into the organization and the processes involved. These guidelines are designed to minimize the risk involved in any pharmaceutical production that cannot be eliminated through testing the finished product. These risks are unexpected cross-contamination, causing damage to health or even death, wrong labels on containers causing confusion, even wrong medicines reaching patient and not enough or too much active ingredient, resulting in ineffective treatment or adverse effects. In simple terms, GMP helps to ensure the consistent quality and safety of products by focusing attention on 5 key elements, which are often referred to as the 5 Ps of GMP: people, premises, processes, products, and procedures. India, having a prominent and rapidly growing presence in global pharmaceutical ecosystem and the only country with largest number of USA FDA compliant pharma plants, more than 262 including APIs, outside of USA has more than 2,000 WHO approved pharma plants and 253 European Directorate of Quality Medicines approved plants with modern state-of-the-art technology. As the industry is growing, regulations are also changing to meet quality standards as per international norms. Drug Department is also enforcing Indian pharmaceutical manufacturers for a complete infrastructure and facilities as per Cgmp and WHO-GMP standards. The Health Committee and Ayush Committee of PhD Chamber has been playing a role of the catalyst by organizing various webinars during the COVID times on medical devices, digital health, tackling the NCDs, regulatory certification for pharmaceutical industry, and roadmap for national medical technology by inviting all the stakeholders from the industry and government. Today, we have dignitaries from Drug Regulatory Department of India, industry regulators and manufacturers of pharmaceutical industry to deliberate on the scope of WHO-GMP certification, its requirement, important guidelines, and government initiatives for the industry. MSMEs should make sure to make their plant GMP compliant for the growth and to get into quality consistency, especially in pharmaceuticals, as it directly deals with the human lives. We as a chamber would like to encourage them, and therefore we are conducting this webinar. I am sure that the industry will take appropriate planned action to protect the consumer and the marketplace from exposure to any potentially harmful ingredients or practices through focusing on above mentioned 5 Ps to get the 6 P profit. On behalf of PhD Chamber, I once again welcome you all and seek your active participation on this discussion. Thank you, Jai Hind, and God bless everyone.
Thank you very much, Senior Vice President, for your opening remarks and also guiding the webinar on this important topic of WHO GMP certification. WGMP certification is only becoming more essential, as you rightly mentioned, to cover the risks and other areas of concern when it comes to quality drugs, not only in terms of the final product, but also the manufacturing process. We have with us today Professor Ramesh Goyal, Vice Chancellor of the Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research University, and would like to request him to kindly give his remarks on this particular area. Over to you, Professor Goyal.
Okay. Can you allow me to share my presentation?
Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Sri Vivekji, for inviting me. Thank you, Multani-ji, other distinguished personalities from industry, my colleagues, and let me start sharing the thing so that it becomes easy. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes,
Okay.
we can see.
So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And in fact, when I was talking to Vivekji, I told that I am not the real expert in this area. And so I would like to first thank my colleagues who gave me some inputs. The reason is that to me, when I used to talk about the GMP and all, we know GMP, good manufacturing practice, but many times I used to feel like to me it was give more papers. So they tried to explain to me that it is something like GLP and GCP. I again thought that probably give lot of papers and very clear papers or the proper papers you need. So they had a hard time to explain to me. So I will begin with a simple thing first, which is the concern of the day. We are all passing through still a bad time. We saw the decline in the COVID cases, but again the surge has started, again, second wave. Not only in India, but all over the world. And you see the scenario. I will not go into those details. It has been a problematic, the COVID. because of the rapidity with which the death is occurring. No vector, no, it was a new virus. Now, of course, the death rate which has declined, case fatality ratio which has declined. It is all because we have learned a lot in this 1 year, and there has been a demand. Well, there are many more things which have appeared, that case fatality ratio and the uses of the complementary therapy, the alternate therapy, SCAM or Ayurveda, for example. The countries which were using that, the fatality ratio was much lower than what it was those which the countries which do not use it. This is a study which our team at the School of Allied Health Sciences did, and we found this. Well, what happened in this 1 year? There was a move to have something which is, I will call it as the pandemic speed to tackle this. Shorten the timeline for getting the drugs. The regulators were very, very kind to have even relaxations all over the world, not only in India, but all over the world, working 24/7, and we all know this, the speed with which they were working. And it is happening all over. European agencies, they had a rapid scientific advice as compared to what the time reduction was very much there in every aspect. Exceptional decisions were taken for the rapid agreement to the pediatric investigation plans, rolling reviews, faster reviews, extension and indication and extension of marketing authorization. Of course, even in the vaccines, the same thing happened. The way in which it was permitted, we could not have imagined a vaccine to come minimum couple of years, and we see the results now. Repurposing of drug, not that easy, but was again given. It has happened all over. Even if you see European Union, they had certain things. Even the US FDA, emergency use authorization was one of them. If you see extended access of authorization, again by the US FDA. So the regulatory mechanisms were made faster. Same thing in Australia, the way in which the labeling relaxations to the other steps which were taken. So even in Japan, the early patient access by expedited approval procedure. Even in India, government took a lot of measures, waiver of the local clinical trial to again, fast online meetings for the drug approvals. All these things speaks volumes, and promotion of the extension of the validity of the certificates, GMP licenses, and even the processing applications to manufacture or import of vaccines to drugs. All these were the steps, and again the measures of the Ayush, again very highly appreciable from India point of view. So with this 1 year passage, we have come to various things, and there is something like a new normal which has come. What is that new normal? One of the new normal is a biopharma revolution which have come. Digitally enabled productivity gains, again from the support of the regulators for speed and without compromising the safety and efficacy. This is important. Support of the regulators without relaxing the safety and efficacy. So this has been some of the steps, the new normals which have come, and they are going on. Well, we all know that Indian pharma market, all the dignitaries, experts are sitting, so I will not go to the figures, but certainly we are the leaders, third largest in terms of volume, 13th in the value, and what not, with respect to vaccines, with respect to supply of the drugs, we are there. But what important point here is we are export oriented. And the figures tell again, the pharma exports, and it is not because of COVID, but in the COVID period, we are faring still better in the sense that export during the 2020 was also very high. Even the bulk drug export, even when if you talk of the generic drugs or demand, and even today 80% of the AIDS drugs are from India. So that it speaks a lot. But what does it mean? That the things India has been progressing, and even in the COVID period, it seems that we are still doing better than many other countries also. Various figures which appear all throughout 2020 also speaks a lot what different companies have done from different companies from India has done, and what are the commitment, how they are progressing. Even if you think the government, what government did, whether it was our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Modi ji, or others, so many, the Pharma Vision 2020, the Janaushadhi program getting more, Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi program, the setting up of the Global Center for Traditional Medicine. We can go on talking what all these things mean. See, if industry continues to be excelling in the exports, the very rightly apt the topic is the WHO-GMP. Yes, if you want to export, most of the countries, they prefer if it is coming from WHO GMP approved plants. We all know how many US FDA approved plants are there in country. We are, the largest in the world after the US itself. So the quality, as rightly pointed out by our Baltani also, that yes, we have to see that we are providing the medicine of quality. And there comes again, India has never been behind. Schedule M was in place, and to add to it, the amendment has been suggested. See this itself, so that we are at par with the WHO GMP. So currently, over 1,000 units out of 8,000 units in the country are WHO GMP compliant. It speaks volumes of our quality in addition to the numbers. Well, the experts are sitting, they will be deliberating more, but we all know that how the COPP, the certification of the pharmaceutical product which is issued, is important, because it gives confidence to the other countries, but also to the patient. It diminishes the risk, and definitely WHO GMP is for the something which is the international trade. It is very important, as rightly pointed out by our Multani ji, that PEEV, the profit also, it has to be maintained. I will not go into the history of this WHO GMP. It started in 1967, and how things have been transformed. What it speaks is that yes, WHO GMP is something which has been fast adopted by our country, probably fastest by any other Asian country. That's what I can say. Even China may be doing better, but GMP, did they adopt that fast? Did they allow that? Probably India will be on the top of it. Well, the lot of things have changed. We are, as I mentioned before, the proposal is that yes, the amendment to see that our GMP in India is at par with the GMP. So we all know that there are 194 members in this WHO GMP there, and the principles followed are not only, especially in the beginning, in which I told that it is give more papers. Yes, the paper, the documentation has to be perfect. That's what the GMP speaks, in addition to the maintenance of the quality, validation to design, everything is there. So WHO GMP is very, very important. We all understand that, and the government has always supported it. We all know that. And the recent changes, CDSCO increased the validity of WHO certification for 3 years to boost the PASA. It was done in 2018 circular. But during the COVID time also, to support the export, the measures were taken. Like that Indian government extended the validity from March to August for 6 months. So whatever is the possible, the government has been doing it. Even in IPC, we see that preparation of monographs for the drugs which have emerged in this COVID period, that those steps have also been taken. And we also are going further into something, let us hope. But in conclusion, I would like to say that, what I would like to say is that WHO GMP is mandatory in most global markets. Manufacturing of export, and if it is the manufacturer of an export country must be licensed by the regulatory authority of that country. So we are well prepared in that. We are well set rules in that. And majority of Indian manufacturing comply with this system. This is what is there. And as I mentioned, but of course the percentage, but definitely government of India also supports that. But the question is, WHO and India. Many times I feel that in this period, some of the statements which started coming in from the WHO, that it will take that time, vaccine will not be enough. And India continued to prove that no, we are still in place, we do better and better. That's what is happening. And definitely, India is not only at par with WHO, probably leading WHO also sometimes. In terms of indigenous, the CAM medicine and Ayurveda, again, India proved, and WHO has to accept that also. So with these words, we see that we have a bright future, but at the same time, another thing which I'm trying to tell is that we must complement the PhD chambers, a very old chamber, to have been constantly working even in the COVID era, in the COVID period, to see that industry grows for the welfare of the public. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Professor Goyal. You did say you are not an expert, but I think the kind of perspective which you have given is something which is of tremendous value to all of us here. And I really liked your abbreviations when you talked about too many papers, and I'm sure we will discuss on that particular aspect, but really quite interesting to have to make a point actually through those observations. We have with us Dr. Rubina Bose, the Deputy Drug Controller of CDSCO from Ministry of Health, Government of India. And I would like Dr. Bose, in case you can throw some light, among other things which you may have definitely wanting to talk about, the expectation from the industry and the roadblocks of the industry, and how CDSCO, I know, has been working continuously towards this endeavor to actually have more and more units WHO-GMP verified. And considering the fact we are a pharmacy to the world, we are a vaccine destination for the world. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you. At the outset, I would like to thank, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Thank you. So at the outset, I would like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity, and to the CDSCO, DCGI also, for allowing me to speak on behalf of CDSCO. So just as usual, for while I speak in this webinar for a number of times, like that, this is one of the things, this virtual platform which COVID has brought to us. I would like to give a disclaimer that whatever I say is my personal understanding and views, and should not be considered upon as the views of my organization. But anyway, GMP is such a subject, like it's now our everyday matter. When I sit in a zonal office, and when I'm sitting in the as a zonal head of West Zone, comprising of the states of Maharashtra, Goa, the Daman, Diu, and also, so there are like you can understand that the what we face every day as an application. And just before saying that, I would like to thank also the previous Dr. Goyal also for highlighting that how the regulatory work has been progressed, and how the regulatory response was there to this COVID-19 pandemic, extending the timeline. Or I think the previous speaker has highlighted a lot of things which has been done by all the regulators over the world, as well as by CDSCO, while responding to this COVID-19, ensuring the availability of the medicines, ensuring that the things are not, things are in place, and that we get the drugs, essential drugs, as soon as it is needed. So all the, so just wanted to, cannot, cannot leave this opportunity to highlight that that was the first, first and foremost, our target was to make available the medicines. And then he said this actual keyword, that when you try to make available the medicines, then how do you do it? So it's like you cannot compromise with the quality, safety, and efficacy. This is a word we keep on saying. And then, but how do we ensure that? Through a proper clinical trial, and also through manufacturing the product using the GMP principles. So GMP is a mandatory standard, basically. So when we say that it is a mandatory standard, we do not, right now, I really don't want to point out to the Schedule M, which we have. There is a, a huge, shifting from the paradigm shift from the Schedule M, which has been published in 2001 and was made applicable in the light of, or in as per the, from the WHO TRS 823 at that point of time. And basically GMP was introduced in Schedule M was introduced in 1988. And then we adopted the WHO-GMP right at the time when it was 2001. And 823 was there, and then all the units, they started modifications, and whosoever has come up has actually led India to these highest US FDA standards compliant manufacturing facilities, or the highest GMP WHO GMP standard certified facilities in India. And so we can export a lot of products, and which has made us the pharmacy of the world. And we can talk about the volume of the export. But today, we can see that there is a paradigm shift. Basically, today we are no more at 823. WHO is no more at 823. WHO has gone to TRS 986, and we are in the 1000 series, where there is WHO TRS 1010. And the world is moving very fast with this quality management, system. So they don't talk. So now the people don't talk right now only on the facilities, on the equipment, on the utilities, and only not that. They say that quality should not be tested in the product. The quality should be built into the product. And that's what is said everywhere. And that you should have, so there are a lot of things which has come up. If we compare the two, so that was one of the intention, that to make us at par with the the entire world, with the global practices, just as the same way we have published the new drug and clinical trial rules and the medical device rules. in 2019 and the medical device rules in 2017, and we are implementing it, which have actually taken us to the at par with the international practices, and we have been able to do all our approvals in the recent time. The last 1 year of the COVID and the pandemic, we've been able to do everything. It was because we had that regulatory enablers and tools in our hand. Now, people would not be saying, how come this accelerated approval has come up? How the expedited review was taken up? Because everything is written down in the rules, the new drug clinical trial rules and the COVID kits. I remember when there was a lockdown and sitting in Mumbai, everything was locked and we got the audit that it's an essential services. Every day you have to come to office to ensure that everything is available, and you have to motivate your staff who were so scared, and everybody has to come. And then we started getting the applications which we have to do online. So we made everything online, and then we started there was no COVID kit. There was no COVID kit for testing diagnostic kits in March. And we have so many COVID diagnostic kits right now. The manufacturers are there. We have indigenous manufacturers besides the importers. How was it possible that we made it so fast? One was that, yes, the fastest regulatory response. We had to do very first. We have to review the things. We understood what is the meaning of the word rolling review. We understood what is the meaning of the word parallel review. We understood what is actually now these adaptive clinical trials. We understood a lot of things. Actually, it was a great learning. The lessons learned, I would have said. But the most important being, as being in the West Zone, the first COVID kit manufacturer came up here itself. So we had to go in the lockdown for inspections to see the things. We couldn't leave it that, yes, sitting in the office, we can review. We had to go for inspections. We have to see that everything was in place. The product was really manufactured, looking into, and that there was specification was ready. Everything was there, and there was real quality that it will be really producing. It would be able to do the diagnosis. So performance evaluation. So working with all the various institutions, the government institutions which are coming up and doing this, we first did this COVID kit. So what I'm trying to say is that we could do everything very fast, reviewing the things, the checklists, the processes, everything was in place because of the new MDR, the new clinical trial rules, where the manufacturers know what they need to submit, what is the data requirement, and wherever they're headed out, there was regulatory pathway, there was all options given to them that you come to DCGI or through the PRO, or you come up through the subject expert committee, you give your proposals, and everything would be reviewed, and proper recommendations or proper guidance would be given, and that was done. So, and the same way, we want to say that it is very, very important to be, for all of us, to be at par with the global practices, the global scene. Everybody is talking. So as Sir was showing us about that 194 countries. So if you see, nobody talks right now about that tier is 8 to 3. They are talking right now about ICHQ 8, ICHQ 9, ICHQ 10. So one is the pharmaceutical development, one is the quality risk management, ICHQ 10 is the pharmaceutical quality management system, ICHQ 11 is on the drug development, in the further on the drug development, and we have the ICHQ 12 on the management, on the post-approval management, change management. So that's the element right now built up in the current GMP, which we called is that this is important. So we tried to make the schedule aim was tried to be made at par with the global practices, incorporating all these things, quality management system. And if you say what are the QMS tools, then definitely first thing which will come in this is the good data and record management practices, which is WHO has gone in long away. So it was WHO TRS 996, and WHO is right now modifying it into a further version as per the EU guidance. So if you see that good data and record management practices, which talks about all these things, because I have my previous speaker was talking about the lot of papers, lot of things. So I had to say that. So ALCOA, so you should have attributable, legible, contemporary. So everything, if you see that, if you Google, you will read that ALCOA, and now you have all those things like it is no more said ALCOA, but it says ALCOA plus, that it has to be consistent, it should be comparable. So everything you have to do, all which have a credibility, you have the things which are available, which is legible, and that it should be contemporary, I just wanted to use a simple word. Anybody can put Google and read Alcoa and Alcoa Plus. But I'm trying to say what is most important is that everything should be contemporary. You record when it is actually done. So a lot of things are really are, you do it in the paper form or you do it through a electronic system. Everything is allowed, but it is there. And then one more thing is that there are a lot of the other tools in the quality management system. That is very important. That is the quality risk management. So quality risk management is now again something which is we have not written in our Schedule M of 2001. But it is there in the WHO guidelines. So quality risk management, you have there are so many elements which I can just name. Product quality review. What is expected that you review your product, which you are manufacturing for last many years. So it says about the deviations management. It talks about the complaint handling. It talks about the review of your entire thing. So it talks about your change management. Most important, you change your product at any point of time. You have a problem with the vendor. You do not have the vendor. You change the vendor and you manufacture the product with a new vendor, with a new excipients one day. And you see that the product and you don't do anything. You don't do process validation. You will not do a stability study and the product is in market. So what will happen? So it will fall in dissolution. It will fail in disintegration. It will fail. So what I'm trying to say is that you cannot do changes without a proper procedure. So there are so many elements now. So it is very, very important. We don't say that upgradation into the GMP, WHO standards. I would rather like to say that we should now adopt the Schedule M, which is being published. And in any form, you have to say that, yes, this is the current GMP which is needed and the world is here. And how we can be helped basically, because there is that QRM, the quality risk management, the risk management. So you need to identify what is the risk in your product. If you are manufacturing such a product which is well established for a lot of time and you have everything fixed and you never make a change, is it really a high risk? So you have to really understand what is the risk in your product, what is the risk in your process, what type of products, a sterile product, a vaccine, a biological product, which is a life-threatening disease. No, so there are so many. All the drugs are definitely life-saving drugs, but you need to know what is the risk with your product, and accordingly you have to respond to that risk. So what would be your standards? But overall, there has to be a standard which has this QMS principle, which has the quality risk management principle, and also which also have the facilities, equipment, and everything which have to be in place, the record management. So I think there are lot many things. Each chapter is each of these can have you can have a session on that. So it's really very difficult to make it a point here, but it is important right now that we have to adopt the Gmp standards, which is a current practice globally, because we want to make us as per the global practices. And we have seen that when we have now working with all the international regulatory agencies, because this COVID has opened up this platform where we are interacting with the MHRA, we are interacting with the ICMRA platform, with all the regulators of the country, that how they are handling the things and how we are handling. So we are confident. And as sir was saying, that we are always flexible, but flexible does not mean that the quality compromise to the quality, safety, and efficacy. We can't do that. Flexibility is that, yes, extension of the GMP certification, but within that limit of 2 to 3 years. So we had a limit of 3 years. Somebody has a 2 years because there were some issues, there were some observations. So we had a 2 years and then we can extend. So those are done. And then it's not possible to do everything online, virtually. There are reasons that we have to go for inspections and do the things actually. So it is important that how you really behave in that aspect of quality management system, how you really do the things and you record the things and you actually perform the things, and how you build up your product. As we say always, quality has to be built into the product. So when there has to be a formulation development, there has to be a technology transferred properly, and it has to go into the commercial production. And when it goes into the commercial production, you should have that post-marketing assessment. Where is the product and how it is? Really, it is having that stability. But I manufacture and I throw into the market. It's cannot be like that. We have to be responsible for all our deeds. So that is important. So I think I said what I could express. The thing is that we need to upgrade the GMP of 2001. Right now, with the global practices, the way we did it for our NDCT rules, the new drug clinical trial rules, the medical device rules, it is very important. And the way and the manner, it's not to be, nothing to be, you can have a very poor, the setup has to be definitely different because there is a GMP requirement. So maybe some modifications of the facilities equipment are needed. And then and the most important thing that whatever you do, this has to be recorded and has to be kept, and you should have all these elements in place, which I spoke about on the quality management system and the quality risk management. And the world goes into this continuous improvement. You have a corrective and preventive action management system in place. Wherever there is a problem, it is not hidden. It is taken care of. It is actually done. And it is, you investigate, you do the causality assessment, and you take a corrective and manage, corrective action and a preventive action as well. So these are some of the things which are expected by the international regulators as well. So when they come for inspection, when there is an, a warning being given, or a FDA audit 483 comes up, the things is that those are some of the things which were coming up a lot, and I know that the industries who are doing with this, they are aware of all these problems. And we as a regulator, when we go for inspections, our inspectors go for the inspections. I'm being the supervisor of a lot of inspectors. I know that how this problem lies, and we try to educate them. Basically, we sometimes really try to behave as a facilitator, giving the observations, lining down the observations, and giving them that, yes, you can go ahead, but you please do the things. If you have really a poor facility, you cannot handle those products, then you really cannot handle the products, or you have no data on the products, we remove the products. But if you have a facility, you have a scope, you have a behavior, a right behavior, not a reactive behavior, but really a GMP attitude and a proactive behavior, definitely you can go ahead. So we understand, we try to do that, and we can be always a facilitator to the industry in that manner. So I feel that COVID has also given us a great lesson, and we learned a lot of things through this COVID, and we know that how to work together in coordination, in collaboration, and also understanding this virtual platform. So it is a great for us when we connect to so many people throughout the world, in the globally also, like when attending the WHO meeting and all. So I think it's a great, it has given us also a different perspective and opportunity to, connected. And once again, I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. Thank you so much. I could hear some clear messages that the regulator will be a facilitator. At the same time, let's look at a more proactive behavior and approach from the industry. And then I think the facilitation role is very, very critical, because usually regulators are feared. But I think once the regulator has an attitude of being a facilitator, it solves a lot of things down the line. Second thing you mentioned, quality is actually built into the product. So I think that's a good take-home message. And referring to the remarks by Professor Goyal about heaps of papers, I think you brought out the importance of good data and record management practices, which are, I think, critical to any assessments being made by either WHO or the regulator, or the world bodies for that matter. And the quality risk management, whether it was product quality review, whether it was deviations management or change management, I think, again, very key areas which you brought out. Thank you, Dr. Bose, and we must acknowledge here on this platform formally that the active role which CDSCO has played during the COVID times, we at the industry, applaud it with both hands, and the kind of proactiveness which we have seen from CDSCO all across the country is really of true value, which the industry really appreciates. Thank you very much, madam. We have people from the industry and also from Frere Solutions. I think we will discuss in this panel discussion, and I will request all the panelists to kindly spend 10 minutes expressing their views and thoughts, and the industry members expressing their problems, so that we can go back to Professor Goyal and Dr. Bose for any issues which you may like to raise. So I'll request my colleague, Dr. Ravi Rathod, to conduct this session, which is with Dr. D.P. Koch, Corporate Head, Technical and Scientific, Albert and David Limited, Dr. Ghulam Moinuddin, Team Lead from Frere Solutions, and Mr. Mukesh Sinha, Advisor, Technical, Modi Mundi Pharma. Over to you, Dr. Ravi, to take it forward.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasant views. It was a very knowledgeable views from Professor Goyal and Dr. Rubina Bose. Let's hear something from the industry also. Now I would request Dr. Ghulam Moinuddin, Team Lead Frere Solutions, to express his views on the topic, please. Over to you, Dr. Ghulam.
Yeah, thank you so much, the jury member, Dr. Vivek. It was very nice to hear from Dr. Rubina Bose and Dr. Goyal the impact and the scope of GMP, importance of the GMP, especially in the pharmaceutical scenario. When we are, thank you so much, Doctor, for having this enlightened or highlighted that the biologics era, that's actually one of the good things. Just to start with the note, our Indian regulators like the CEDESCO, the DCGI of India, has set the benchmark in terms of approving the first biosimilars monoclonal antibody of India. For example, with Dr. Reddy's Biologics, because of the standards being set by the CEDESCO officials, and it was one of the 10 steps what our regulators took in, where not only in developing the monoclonal antibody like rituximab, because Roche like company getting another biosimilar in India, it was the support and the standards which are set by the Indian regulators, which has paved the way to develop such a molecule which would help the patients with a very good quality, safety, and efficacy. So coming to the importance of the GMP, like it is not about the GMP, it is also about the GLP, GCP. Now it is combined as GXP. Now, when we take this, maybe it may be the procurement of any of the raw materials of the active pharmaceutical ingredient, or the cell banks, maybe the master cell bank or the working cell bank. The standards which are set, especially from the law of land, that the DCGI sets the benchmark for this particular products to go outside with the benchmark regulatory agencies like the US FDA and the EMEA to have our product registered. It is not about just the developing the product and taking out. It's about the consistency in terms of achieving and being in the market in par with proving with the non-inferiority trials with the reference medicinal product what is being compared with. So I must reiterate that the rules, regulations, and the processes, regulatory processes in terms of getting the import permits for this reference medicinal product, maybe they have gone out of the way. When we say that this is the number of vials or the reference standard which are required for the comparative studies to prove that our biosimilar or any of the vaccines which has been developed is in par with the the innovator molecule. So they go out of the way in terms of comparison, and they give a very good step of suggestion in terms of not only maintain the consistency in terms of quality maintenance plus the safety and efficacy. Another point to stress is the expertise in the DCGA has developed in such a way that they are in par with the benchmark regulatory agencies as well. So when we go for the SEC meetings, the amount of questions and the load of questions we get from the regulator committee is really appreciable. So it is for I go to tag say or we go to Tirupati administration or any other regulatory agency, and the product is from Indian companies, like in any major Indian company, they usually have a huge, high words and but then the setup issued by the law and number one. Number two, the adherence of the GMP GLP decision plus the farms program being developed in India and maintained, which leads to the very good quality, safety, and efficacy of the medicines. To quote another two examples, India was the first country to approve the first biosimilar of after innovator, Darbepoetin alpha. Now, many patients are getting benefited not only in the cost, because the product by the companies like Roche and Gen, who have not reachable common person, like at least, like, so is the Indian companies showed that were around 1 wire of map. India produced 10,000. That's what India made in a promoting to quality, and but yet it will many, uh, so I think the country and the not only giving the kid to the the PPD not this is India can make difference in terms of full using and having good development program in terms of developing in the fast track, because we do have the strategy discussion with the DCG.
Dr. Moinuddin, I think we have lost you. We are not able to hear you.
I think he's had a connection problem that side. So you may continue, Dr. Ravi, I think, with our next panelist, please.
Okay. And now I would request Dr. D.P. Ghosh, sir, is the corporate head, technical and scientific from Albert and David Limited, to share his views, please. Over to you, Dr. Ghosh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, PhD Chamber, to give me this opportunity to come into this very important conference or a webinar on this GMP certification in pharmaceutical industry and government support. You see, I am in this industry you'll be surprised to know that for the last 53 years and still continuing and still learning also. I mean, my learning curve hasn't ended. It goes on and on and on because this industry is changing every day. So this is a little background of mine. I have seen all kind of production, starting from R&D, then all kind of productions, and then elevation in every stage. I faced WHO, FDA also twice, so and successfully. So I'll give you some of my notings and things which I've been thinking that all my colleagues in the industry should follow. And before me, I know many of the people sitting over there, like Dr. Rubina Bose, I know. So she talked very well from the regulatory side. So I'll try and support it from industry. You see, we are all concerned with quality. Quality is the prime concern. And then, of course, the efficacy of the drug and the safety. Because safety, efficacy, all because of the consumer, who is at the receiving end, and they don't know how the drug is being achieved, how it has been produced. It goes to them sometimes in a critical condition, and they have to take it. I mean, so it's a very the onus is on us to give the best. So quality is the prime importance in this industry. Another thing I always say wherever I talk, the pharma industry is a unique industry, as we deal with only one quality, good or bad. There cannot be too many, either it's a good approved or it is rejected. But, we don't have any gradation, grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3. So we reduce the price and sell it off. It is not possible. Even in food industry, there are gradations. Rice में भी ये अच्छा है, वो थोड़ा बुरा है, कम दाम में बेच दो, इधर तो वो chance नहीं है. So we have only one quality. Although that's an ideal situation, but unfortunately, we do come across some substandard drugs or bad quality drugs, medicines from the market. Our regulatory friends will vouch on it. Many times they take it up, it goes for so many cases and a lot of things. I mean, the processes are not very happy one. It happens even after the relentless pursuit of our drug regulatory authorities to maintain and check quality of the drugs which is available in the market. So it's a continuous effort from them, and it's not easy also. Quality of the drug products, actually, we used to know about quality control, we used to know about production, we used to know about quality control, and it goes into the market. Things have changed a lot, as Dr. Rubina Bose was telling that this guidelines, WHO guidelines goes on changing. This thing has changed quite a lot. From, if I look back my 50 years experience and today, there's heaven and hell difference in manufacturing setups and all. Depends on check on every stages of manufacture. You see, you have to have a proper facility, infrastructure, strict check on quality of inputs, contamination control at every stages of manufacture, hygiene, sanitation of the facility, equipment, and the personnel. And every stage we do, there is a check. And today, in olden days, we never used to hear about a quality assurance. You used to know about quality control, QC. QC is the final. They are approving the drug and it's going to the market. Today, quality assurance is the most important department in any pharmaceutical manufacturing setup, because they are watching. I mean, from the get, how the material is coming in, how it is being tested, whether it has been done properly, and even somebody was talking about the vendor. We have a approved vendor list. In olden days, we never used to think of this. Go to that party or another. He is not having any stock. Go to another party and have it. No, we cannot do that now. You must have an approved vendor, and we have an approved vendor list, which we have to produce when there is an audit, whether it's internal audit or a domestic or a CDSU audit. We should be ready with it. So we have to also maintain the optimum conditions at every stages of manufacture of a product, every conditions, And again, I think there was talk about documentation, and that's the most important part of today's. You just not that I have done it in a proper manner and it is over. No, you have to take responsibility. We can check back and see that how you had done it. So every stages of documentation and data control should be there, whether it is electronic or physical or paper. Nowadays, paperwork is coming slowly and gradually it's going away. Maybe data control with digital is all allowed also. Now, there was talk about Schedule M. Yes, I do agree. Schedule M is there. And if many of our friends in the industry, they follow the Schedule M, I think they have at least 70% or 80% of the things are done. But unfortunately, many of our colleagues or friends are not following it, because Schedule M is quite elaborate about the facility, how you can do it, what you should follow, and everything is prescribed over there. Now I'll come to WHO-GMP. Now WHO-GMP used to go for WHO-GMP, and people used to say this has come as a status symbol. Every company says I have a WHO-GMP approved company, but what does it mean? The paper doesn't make any sense if you are not following that literally, honestly. Actually, if you don't follow it properly, it should not be a status symbol. It should be by heart. You have to take it. It should be taken with all seriousness by the industry. WHO-GMP should be given very carefully and looking into the future aspect of everything. How the drug is being developed, how every person's character has to be. I'll just a little deviation, and I'll tell you what I was, say, 40 years back and today. My character has changed because of this industry. I'm very grateful that I was in pharma industry, because I've become more and more I'm becoming honest. You have to be an honest person to be in this industry, actually. WHO, guidelines. Dr. Rubina Bose has mentioned about the guidelines. It's coming off and on. I mean, slowly and gradually, it's a very dynamic one. GMP, WHO, GMP, and after some time, you have to follow the guidelines. A new guideline will come. So it will get revised, upgraded, and you have to follow that. It's not that you have got a WHO, GMP and that's all over. No. I think the industry should get a training. I'm quite sure many of the organized industry, they have got a training system and they follow them, but it's a very, very important factor. You have to upgrade yourself. It has to be contemporary. You have to know the new guidelines which has come in, what is actually the meaning of it and how much it is really impacting on your quality of the products, each of the products. So this regular interval training is a very, very important factor in this industry. The regulatory authority should come forward because they have got immense opportunity to see so many industries, domestic or foreign companies, and they should come forward with their knowledge, their experience, and teach the industry. We must have collaborative sessions, quality sessions where industry people, industry leaders can talk, regulators can talk. This will really proper interaction of knowledge should be there on a regular basis. And finally, we should follow the latest GMP standard. Not that we'll just say that we are following GMP. Not that. Whether you are following the latest one. Things are changing, as I said. With my long associations with this pharma industry in various capacities, I've seen that there are instances when people they have a tendency to make shortcuts, and unfortunately, GMP cannot be achieved without taking care in every aspect of the drug manufacturing and testing. That is why, this term Cgmp has come. Cgmp is the current good manufacturing practice. Only GMP will not help, You have to be current. Current means today's current may not be feasible for another month or 1 year. That current may be different. So, actually, many times I say, this industry, the quality and everything is a moving target, If somebody thinks that WHO-GMP earlier have done enough, and I'm very happy that we are following this. No, it's a moving target. If you have achieved something, you have to be ready to go further. It is dynamic. It's a constantly changing industry. With these few words, I didn't prepare a lecture or anything. Whichever things came into my mind with this long association, long experience in different stages of drug manufacturing, different kind of dosage form, I tried to give you some of my thoughts. Thank you very much. Thanks for hearing me. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you,
this is
thank you,
Moin here, Dr. Vivek. Hope you are able to hear me out.
Yes,
audible?
Dr. Moinuddin, we are now able to hear you. I would just like to highlight some of the
I'm so
points
sorry.
shared by
Sure.
Dr.
Yes, please.
Ghosh, like the quality, efficacy, and safety are the prime concern. And there should be a regular and internal training, which is very important to cope up with these GMP requirements, as he has mentioned the current GMP. With the industry, it should be in a collaborative manner. Thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh, for your views. I think we have lost Dr. Moinuddin last time. So I would request him again to finish his remarks, please, Dr. Moinuddin. Hello, over to you, Dr. Moinuddin.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was just giving in glimpses of the importance and scope of GMP from Indian manufacturing side, especially emphasis to the biological preparations and the new drugs, especially for the most niche areas like oncology or renal failure or other vaccine therapies. So not only that, like even the regulatory agencies outside, when they see a drug coming from India, they are assured that the Indian manufacturing companies are being regulated by one of the strict regulatory agencies. So that is the impression we have when we discuss. Usually, we discuss with potential customers like Teva and GSK and other things, because now I'm into consulting now. I see that, you know, the regard which is coming out for the Indian companies, not only because we produce drug, we produce quality drug as well. So most of the applications when we give for a product registration, we have to give the site registration document for most of the regulatory agencies. So when they see the WHO GMP from India, they honor it because we have a very good regulatory status and the country of origin would be of India. And believe me, out of 10 applications we submit, the audits what we expect would be 1 or 2. And even they say that the papers looks good and there is no need for a physical inspection. This is, you know, the standards our regulators are raising. And we should, as an Indian manufacturing facility, we need to take this as a, in a pride that our regulators are restricting us in terms of having a good control over the quality over each step. Maybe it is procurement of any of the raw materials or the pharmaceutical, active pharmaceuticals, or any of the, you know, ingredients or the working cell banks. We have a very good capability of developing this. So many, you know, feathers to the cap here goes like we have many world's first biologics which are approved here, and now even other biologics company who are in US are taking the vaccines which are here to do a comparative trial, not only the clinical but even the physicochemical analysis. So with that note, I think this is what I wanted to make ensure that GMP plays a vital role, not only to test once the product is finished in every single step of the pharmaceutical development or procurement or the specification release or the batch release. It plays a very good role and has a very good repute, not only for that company, for the country of origin like India. So with that, Mike, you know, you know, end my talk. If you have any questions, I'll be glad and rather be more happy to have them answered. And thank you so much for the opportunity, Dr. Vivek, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Moinuddin. It was a wonderful talk. As you have mentioned, we got regards from the world because we produce the quality drugs, starting from the procurement to end of the product, to the end product. Thank you very much for your remarks. Now I would request our next speaker, Mr. Mukesh Sinha. He is the advisor technical from Modi Mundi Pharma. Over to you, over to you, Mr. Sinha.
Please unmute yourself, Mr. Sinha.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, welcome. So, welcome. I thank Mr. Vivek to invite me on this occasion. And since most of the views have been presented, but by Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Rubina and Gulamuddin sir, then I would like to add only one thing that, like Dr. Ghosh, I have also spent more than 40 years in the industry, and the meaning of GMP has been changing for us. You know, GMP which used to be good, give more production to begin with, then it shifted to generate more papers, rightly said by Dr. Ramesh Goyal. Now it has reached to a stage where the quality matters. It is related to quality everywhere. And you see, it has a commercial aspect also, which I would like to highlight. By taking a GMP certification by a plant, we are getting a one window open to export the products. Otherwise, without any GMP certification, no application for exports is entertained anywhere in this world. Secondly, once now all the countries are, most of the countries are, their regulators are coming to India to audit the plants. Once your plant is GMP compliant and you are maintaining the latest, what Dr. Rubina has rightly said, that right from TRS 823, we have moved to TRS 9876. So if we are adopting all the latest WHO notifications, we can very well face those audits. Now, in countries like Nepal, if we export medicines to Nepal, even they come for audits to us. And with this WHO-GMP inspections, by a good chance to upgrade ourselves. Now, in the here I would like to mention, in this age of digitalization and use of computer increasing so much, and this gives us a chance to into the latest things which are coming to for GMP requirements, like data integrity and your risk management, where we are challenging our own systems to ensure the consistent quality of the product. And here I'd like to say that quality management system, as Dr. Rubina has rightly said, is to be seen very seriously and to be upgraded at every stage. Dr. Ghosh has given emphasis on the training of all the persons. I think where the government support is there, if they can provide some training programs, what Dr. Ghosh also feels, that to the industry, it can be of great help to all the industry. That is my feeling. I think since everybody has said everything, I should finish here only.
Thank you.
Dr. Ravi.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening remarks. As we have as we are already late, now I will start with the question answer session. So
Yeah.
According to the topic, I would like to ask our industry speakers what type of government support the industry requires with regards to this GMP and Cgmp certification and their compliances. So I'd start with Dr. Ghosh. If you can throw some light on this, on the issues and challenges you are facing. So accordingly, we have the regulator also with us. So if you can please throw us some light on that. Dr.
Yeah.
Ghosh, please.
Thank you very much. You see, during my talk, I have already mentioned, the regulators or the people sitting in the FDA, they are seeing so many places. I mean, even the foreign companies, they know the intricacies of drug manufacturing pretty well, and they should come forward, and we must have interaction sessions. I mean, seminars and interaction sessions, where we can discuss and then pass it on to the industry for a proper knowledge base, so that it helps the industry. We can get the maximum output from this regulators who are very, very knowledgeable. When I go to FDA Bhavan in Delhi, I go with an open mind to see what are the changes coming in. So they can definitely provide those areas, cover those areas.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ghosh. As you have mentioned, interactive sessions are always the prime importance. Regular dialogue should be there between the industry and the regulators. That's the prime requirement. I would request Mr. Sina also, if you want to highlight any challenges or issues on GMP certification and compliances. You are muted, sir.
I think there are no current issues since there is a very active involvement of CDSCO, especially during this pandemic time, where they have been listening to industry very promptly, and they have acted very promptly to give permissions to manufacture vaccines and other things. And regarding GMP, they should have regular training programs. They should conduct regular training for programs for the small scale industries, pharmaceutical industry, to achieve GMP standards. That is my expectation to them.
Definitely, sir. We will highlight the point of the small scale industry with the regulators. Dr. Moinuddin, if you have some points. I think there might be some connection issue with Dr. Moinuddin. So thank you so much for to the speakers for their answers. Actually,
I think Professor Goel wants to say something, Ravi.
Yes, please, Professor Goel, sir.
Yeah, actually, in response to Dr. Mukesh Sinha, what he was asking, that the training programs. Now, what happens that when the CDSCO directly does any training program or like that, there may be some conflict of interest. But there is Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. There are National Institute of Biologicals. Now, these are the institutions in a way associated with the CDSCO, but at the same time, they are independent. They are autonomous that way, I will say like that. And so such programs have to be arranged through them. And that will be the easier way. And yes, as per the requirement, it can be done. So this is what is my suggestion.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. We have received an advanced questions from the delegates. This is for Dr. Rubina Bose. They have asked, like, do the Cgmp regulation permits the destruction of an internal quality assurance audit report once the corrective actions has been completed? I would request if Dr. Rubina Bose can answer.
No, thank you. So, no, it doesn't permit. So that is the thing which we talk about in the good data and record management practices. So when you destroy corrective actions or the way you have done your investigation and you have come and you have rectified, so it lacks, it shows your, that's the way you are. It is the most important thing, that you cannot lose the things, how you have done the investigation, how you have done the out of specification investigation, and you have finally rectified, or you have not accepted. So if any guidance throughout US FDA or the WHO-GMP will never say to destroy any records.
Right.
I would, so would you be asking me about this, the previous speakers' comments, or can I give a comment on my previous?
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes,
so,
please.
So I being a part of, lot of training programs with WHO, and being involved in various countries' training program with the inspectors training program. And we have and it's not working since 2002. I also have covered 21 years, more than 21 years of regulatory experience of working in CDSCO, starting from inspector and today as a deputy drugs controller. So I used to have the program in which I have worked as a facilitator, and still we are continuing in the same mode for different inspectors as well as our inspectors. And lot of training which I was a coordinator for from India, from CDSCO along with WHO, as a facilitator, as an expert of GMP, talking on the GMP subjects, was training our inspectors and the state inspectors on the on the biologicals and the vaccines. So there was a lot of capacity building which was brought up to the biological and the vaccine manufacturers, because as you see that there was a requirement in the pre-qualification program that the UNICEF or the Gavi purchased a lot of vaccines. And so we are here today. The vaccines manufacturers are being accepted and where we are standing today. And also the same for the pharmaceutical and the medicinal products as well. But regarding related to these vaccines, the development has started quite a long way ago, I mean 2002. So we used to have the training program, and still now that's the mode in which we call the industries also, the manufacturers, now which you see the names, all the names here every time in the TV. So they were also a part of their training program. So we had a together training program. So what I'm trying to say is that, so there is no, sir, I'm just, I bit, differ that there is no conflict of interest. It is always, working. If you see the US FDA today has a lot of webinars which is coming up from the US FDA. They're explaining to the people that what is the data submission, what you should do. So we do a lot of seminars with US FDA as well, where the manufacturers are a part of it. All the stakeholders are part of it.
Right.
So that is really not a but yes, somebody has to take the responsibility to do it regular manner, which is important, and we try to do that whenever there is a new need. And I think we have done a lot with the vaccines and the biologicals at this moment of time, because I remember endless training program which we used to do with the WHO, our inspectors to be for the capacity building of the inspectors as well as the manufacturers, that what is the expectation. So so we can do it together always in a collaborative mode, and definitely there are other institutions who have also supported a lot. IPC and NIB has been always being as used. We have used that platform for giving the training to our inspectors also. So just that's a comment from my side. Right.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Bose. In fact, actually, regarding the medical devices, as you have mentioned for the training and all, we will be going to organize the capacity building programs with the CDSU and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, where the Secretary Health has already confirmed that he will be inaugurating the training programs. So there should be a regular dialogue between industry and regulator. So every time all the updates and training should be with the industry also. Just a last question for Professor Goel. The people needs to, the industry and the delegate needs to understand the specific difference between the quality control and the quality assurance in terms of this good manufacturing practices. If you can throw some light on that. Sir, you are muted.
Our Vida is
Yes.
also there. See, quality control is something, I mean, the processes are quite common in both, but when we say quality assurance, it is something that when a batch is released and the processes have been implemented, and it's a sort of a certification that, okay, finally it has been done. Now, quality control, yes, at every step, you are having SOPs, you are having STPs, and accordingly, you are preparing the things. So, ultimately, it has to be quality assurance, which is a final part. Yes, quality controls are there at different levels. That is what is the two differences which we are seeing, and further light can be thrown by other two also.
Thank you so much, sir, for explaining the difference. Now, I would request Mr. Vivek Sehgal. I'll hand over the mic to platform to Mr. Vivek Sehgal for his summing up remarks on the topic, please.
Thanks, Ravi, for moderating the session. I'm not going to do really any summing up per se, but I must just say that there's been a lot of information flow which has happened today since morning, a lot of knowledge sharing which has happened between the participants as well as the delegates and the panelists and our guests of honor. It's been truly rewarding. I mean, so far as I could see from an industry perspective. what we actually take back home and really do at the end of the day. And all I can say is, like you were talking about, at a recent meeting where Dr. Copley was also there with us, with the Secretary Health, we talked about, the capacity building of the CDSCO officers. So this is something of an idea which we had thrown at the Secretary Health, and he was very excited about it. And he said, "Why don't you initiate it? And I'll support you completely on that." So one, that's on the medical devices front. But I think webinar gives us an opportunity to talk something more now on the pharma side as well. So we would be glad to work again with the DCGI office, and of course, as suggested by Professor Goel, with NIB and other institutes, to actually formulate a program on the WHO-GMP and involve the WHO certification in agencies to conduct such webinars, and we'll hopefully get the support from all the stakeholders. So I think a great session, though we started late, but I think we should be finishing on time. And I will now request, because we cannot thank our guests of honor and our panelists enough, so I will be requesting Dr. Harvinder Copley, co-chair of the Health Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and director of the School of the Pharmaceutical Science, DPSRU, to kindly give her thoughts as well as give a formal vote of thanks. Over to you, madam.
Okay. Thank you, Vivekji. And it was really, really very enlightening sessions. And I am really, very happy to be a part of it, because the good manufacturing practices principles, it has been listed that it ensures the quality of manufactured product, which we are concerned throughout the manufacturing processes and the packaging stages. And basically, to create a quality framework, which we had deliberated for the variety of products, not only the drugs, medical devices, food, blood, and, which is safe, pure, and effective GMP principles followed. Very interestingly, the Dr. Rubina Bose mentioned 5 points: the people, premises, process, product, and procedures. So I would say that, the people is also so important. And all the time, we have been highlighting, it has been highlighted by, I think, all the speakers, Professor Goel, and all our three panelists from the industries also, spoke about that the training is so very important. I would also like to highlight that when we are talking about this quality, this total quality management, I understand that, there are 8 elements for a total quality management. And the foundation of these elements, the one which, Dr. Ghosh has said that, working in 50 years is made you more honest. And I know him very well that, he's been working. So the first very important factor is the ethics and integrity. They are the foundations. So based on the ethics and integrity, it builds the byproduct of ethics and integrity is the trust. So that is the foundation of quality. And the bricks, if we have to say, the bricks for this quality is the training and the teamwork, which is important because, not individually when the product is built, it starts from the API testings to a formulations to a packaging to a stage. So teamwork is very important. So quality you need at every other aspects. And besides that, the leader is very important. The leadership of any organizations, I had been working for almost 15 years with the Ranbaxy, and I'd seen that, there are different changes which we had seen in a different style of leaderships. So the quality was always, never with a marketing head or never with a R&D head. It always remains independent. And that is how, you require it, if you have to be very effective. So I would say that, these are the bricks: teamwork and leadership. And the binding motor is the communications. The communications, if you are not communicating well, from any other department to, come off the products, you cannot maintain the quality. And the recognitions that when you get a certification is the roof or the end product which we'll see is. And in every industry, like my colleagues, from my industry would say that there are separate teams nowadays. You have a quality improvement teams, which you call QITs. You have a problem solving teams, and then you have a natural work teams. So there is an importance of quality important teams. And it's been very well highlighted that the good data and the data management system is very, very important. And quality assurances becomes the most important things in that, in all these. But, and one of the points which has also been raised is that there are, almost 8,500 units, but, there are only 1,000 drug units, which is WHO compliant. And WHO compliance, when we are saying is the compliance certifications, it's not a that one time you are getting it certified, because certification is that today you are compliant, tomorrow you may not be. So the maintenance is so very important, whenever we are talking about the good manufacturing, these things. So on behalf of PhD CCI, I would really like to thank our guest of honors, Dr. Rubina Bose, Deputy Drug Controller, SIDASCO, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, our own Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ramesh Goyal from DPSIO, for sparing their valuable time and sharing their views with the industry towards, protecting the consumers. And I would also like to thank our Senior Vice President, Mr. Pradeep Multani, for his welcoming remarks and sharing his views. And also like to thank the panelist, Mr. Mukesh Sinha, Advisor Technical, Modi Mundi Pharma, and Dr. DP Ghosh, Corporate Head Technical and Scientific, Albert David Limited. Dr. Ghulam Moinuddin, who is a team leader from Afrair Solutions, and also very well moderated by our own Mr. Vivek Saigal, the Secretary General for PhD CCI, and also well conducted by Ravi, my colleague Dr. Ravi Rathore. And I would also like to thank the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, and Orange Senior and Assisted Living for sponsoring this very, very important webinar. And we deliberated upon the current good manufacturing practices and addressed the wide range of issues as record keeping, personal qualifications, sanitations, cleanliness, equipment, verifications, process validations, and compliant handling, but offer also the individual, this manufacturers, the flexibility in how to implement the necessary controls in the most appropriate manner, basically for the particular business. So that is how, without compromising, we could, the CDESCO, has given the marketing authorization and approvals and for the, availability of the medications. But it's also very important that, all the 10 procedures, which is also 10 main principle of WHO-GMP, which is very well, deliberated by each one of this. So on behalf of PHCCI, I once again thank our guest and all our partners, panelists, and delegates for the patients listening. And one point I wanted to say is that, today there are, number of our university postgraduates and graduates is also attending, and it's a part of the curriculum. And in fact, while working in the industry, I realized that the students, they join industry at a very young age, and they have a very theoretical knowledge. And sometimes, before even having a particularly trained, when they join in, they have no idea, how to do it. So the organizations or the industry might be compliant. We had says it's a training, regular training is also given by the CDESCO, time to time. So the industry is well aware. But the people, which, in Dr. Rubina Bose is talking about 5 Ps, is so very important, because ultimately entire onus remains on these people. And we see that the first unit operations is normally carried out by the freshers, who is coming just out of the university. So probably, as Professor Goyal highlighted, and and PhD is also conducting, so many of these webinars. So we must include the postgraduates, who are likely to go in the industry. And one I said is the 2 basic principles of ethics and integrity. If they know right from the experimentations which they do it, which after joining academics, I see there's a lot of concern. We have so much of a curriculum to cover that we could not give even the faculty does not give enough emphasis, unless and until we take the separate trainings, that how important it is for any industry, specifically, because a lot of I have seen, there are, I don't want to say, but there are many examples where with the fault of some of the freshers and the team leaders, the product which has not seen the light of the day, or there is a issues with that. So there is no issues in the leadership. There is no issue that the industry doesn't know. There's no issue in that, they are not been trained, but it is only the people, who are on the shelf, can make it. So right from education side, if we then we must be in a better control with that. So with these words, I would like to thank everyone and for a very enlightening session. Thank you. Thank you, Vivekji.
Thank you, Professor Popley, for being here today and giving a formal vote of thanks. I'd also like to once again thank our two webinar sponsors, Metro Hospitals as well as Walter and Bushnell, for supporting us in this endeavor. And we will keep bringing similar programs, quality programs over to everyone, all the delegates, all our members, and to all our panelists. And as promised to Professor Goyal and Dr. Bose, we are ending by my watch at 12:59, which should be in good time to have you conduct your other work starting 1 p.m. onwards. Thank you, Ravi, for working at the back end, making sure that the program goes on smoothly with your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And have a good day ahead and take care and stay safe. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.